My name is Grace. I'm sitting in my new, small office, looking out at the city. It's been a year since the whole debacle at my old job, and I'm still processing it all. But let me start at the end of the chaos, the moment when I finally stood up for myself and watched as the empire I'd built crumbled under the hands of the wrong person. It was a Friday morning, exactly 1 week after Ethan took over the division I'd spent 8 long years building from the ground up. The phone rang, and it was Mr. Thompson, the owner of the company. His voice was cold, accusatory. "You did this," he said, no preamble, no courtesy. "You poisoned those relationships before you left. You sabotaged Ethan." I took a deep breath, my hand tightening around the phone. "I didn't do anything," I said calmly. "I introduced people to each other. What they chose to do after that was their decision." Mr. Thompson scoffed. "Don't play games with me. Those suppliers trusted you. You used that trust to destroy what we built." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "What we built? You didn't build anything. You showed up twice a year, took credit for work you didn't do, and you didn't even know the names of the people who worked under me. I built those relationships. Me, over 8 years of showing up, keeping my word, and making sure everything ran smoothly so you could sit back and reap the benefits." There was a long silence on the other end. I could almost hear him seething. "He's young. He's learning. You could help him instead of watching him fail." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "Like you helped me when you announced I was incapable in front of everyone? When you lied about my abilities to justify giving my work to your nephew?" "No, Mr. Thompson, I'm done being pushed around. Those suppliers left because they knew what was coming. They knew someone who didn't understand or value their work was taking over, and they didn't want to be treated like disposable parts." He mumbled something, but I cut him off. "This isn't over. You have to explain to your buyers why you can't fulfill your obligations, to your investors why a profitable division is suddenly failing, and to everyone who trusted you why you thought Ethan could run something he'd never learned to build. And you can only blame yourself." I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. It wasn't from fear, it was from finally saying what I'd wanted to say for 8 years. Every time he'd taken credit for my work, every time he'd dismissed the importance of relationships, every time he'd acted like success happened automatically, it all came back to me. But let me back up. Let me tell you how I got to that point. 8 years ago, I was a young, ambitious woman looking for a challenge. I came from a middle-class family. My father was a hard-working factory worker, and my mother was a teacher. They instilled in me the values of hard work, honesty, and loyalty. I was hired by Mr. Thompson to handle a part of the business that was on the verge of collapse. The relationships with our suppliers were in shambles. Half of them were ready to end our partnership, and the other half were only staying because of unbreakable contracts. Mr. Thompson gave me 6 months to fix it. "Fix it or we shut it down," he said, his voice stern. I knew it was a tall order, but I was determined. I didn't fix it in 6 months, I rebuilt it from scratch in 2 years. I met with every single supplier personally, not in fancy boardrooms but in their warehouses, at their family-run diners. I sat with them, listened to their problems, and learned how their businesses operated. There was a man named Mr. Harris. He ran one of our biggest supply operations. The first time I met him, he was skeptical. "You're the 5th person they've sent in 3 years. Why should I believe you're different?" he asked. I looked him in the eye and said, "Because I'm not here to manage you. I'm here to make sure we don't waste your time anymore." It took 4 months before he trusted me. But once he did, he was always there when I needed him. It wasn't because of the contracts, it was because he knew I'd never promise anything I couldn't deliver. Over the years, I built 17 strong partnerships, one conversation at a time, one promise kept at a time. By the 3rd year, our division was outperforming every other part of the company. By the 5th year, our profits had doubled. And by the 8th year, we were the reason the whole operation could expand into new markets. But Mr. Thompson never once said thank you. He'd show up twice a year, walk around for an hour, and then leave. He had no idea how the division actually worked, who the key players were, or what it took to keep everything running smoothly. He just saw the numbers going up and assumed it was all automatic. Then, 3 months before the fateful meeting, I was having breakfast at my favorite little diner near the industrial area. It was a quiet place with great food, and I'd been going there for years. That morning, someone sat down in the booth behind me. I heard his voice, and I recognized it immediately, Mr. Reed. He ran our biggest competitor. We'd never met face to face, but I'd heard him speak at industry events. He was known for being smart and straightforward. He turned around and said, "Your Grace, right? From Mr. Thompson's operation?" I nodded. "Mind if I join you?" "Not for business. Just curious about something." I was a bit wary, but I let him join me. He ordered more of the spiced tea the diner was famous for. Then he said something that took me by surprise. "How long do you think you have before he finds a way to push you out?" I must have looked confused because he continued, "Mr. Thompson. I've watched him do this for 15 years. He finds someone capable, lets them build something valuable, and then hands it to someone in his family or someone who owes him. It's happened to 3 people I know personally. You've been there 8 years. Your division is successful. You're about to become inconvenient." I was skeptical at first. I thought he might be trying to recruit me or mess with my head. "Why would I be inconvenient?" I asked. "Because you know too much," he said. "People respect you more than they respect him. And at some point, you might realize you have leverage, and he can't control that." Part of me didn't want to believe him, but his words stuck with me. We started talking, not about work but about how business really worked in our industry. We talked about the importance of relationships, how they were the foundation of everything. When we finished, he wrote down his personal number on a napkin. "If I'm wrong about Mr. Thompson, I apologize for wasting your time. But if I'm right and you ever want to talk, here's how to reach me." 2 weeks later, during a casual conversation, Mr. Thompson mentioned that his nephew Ethan was graduating from business school soon. He said Ethan was really bright and ready to take on a significant role. That's when I knew Mr. Reed had been right. I reached out to Mr. Reed, and we met for breakfast again. This time, I asked him questions. What would happen if our suppliers decided to work with someone else? How difficult would it be to establish new relationships from scratch? How could we make the transition smooth for everyone involved? He listened intently and then said, "You're not just talking about changing jobs. You're talking about something else. You're talking about what happens when the foundation of an operation is pulled out." I nodded. When someone who doesn't understand how things work tries to run something built on trust. He leaned forward. "Keep talking." Over the next 3 months, I met with Mr. Reed 9 times. We never discussed anything illegal. We just talked about the 17 partnerships that made my division work. I introduced him to 3 of our suppliers in casual conversations. "This is someone I respect. Someone who understands how important you are to everything we do," I said. It was enough. The suppliers met him, talked to him, and saw what I saw. A man who genuinely cared about building strong, long-term relationships. I never told them to leave, I never suggested they break their agreements. I just made sure they knew there was someone else who valued their work. Then came the morning meeting. Mr. Thompson stood there, looking at me like I was a nuisance. "We're giving your division to my nephew, Ethan. You're clearly not capable of running it anymore." He said it so casually, as if he was ordering a sandwich. Ethan, a 25-year-old fresh out of school, sat 2 chairs down from him, leaning back like he already owned the place. He had that look of entitlement, the kind of look people get when they've never faced real challenges in their lives. Everyone in the room knew it was nonsense. They'd watched me build the division from nothing, watched it grow year after year. But no one said a word. Mr. Thompson owned the company, he could do whatever he wanted. After the meeting, people came up to me quietly. "This isn't right. We know what you built here. This is wrong," they said. I thanked them, told them it was fine, and that they should support Ethan. But inside, I was furious. I was angry at losing what I'd built, at the disrespect, at the lie that I wasn't capable. Mr. Thompson pulled me aside after everyone left. "I hope you understand this is just business. Ethan needs experience running something substantial. Your division is perfect for that." I forced a smile. "I understand completely." "Good. You'll stay on for 2 weeks to help him transition. Show him how everything operates. Introduce him to your contacts." He actually looked relieved, like he'd expected me to fight. That Friday, Ethan gave a speech to the division. He talked about new energy and innovative approaches, but his words were empty. People clapped because he was the boss's nephew. That afternoon, I spent hours clearing out my workspace. 8 years of hard work fit into 2 boxes. People kept coming by, asking if I was okay, telling me they'd miss working with me. My colleague, Julia, who'd been with me for 6 years, said quietly, "You'll be fine." I told her, "Just do your job the way you always have." But we both knew it wouldn't be that simple. Ethan didn't have the relationships I'd spent years building, and he couldn't build them in time. I went home that evening and sat in the darkness of my apartment. I thought about the 8 years of early mornings and late nights, of the trust I'd built one relationship at a time. My phone buzzed. It was Mr. Reed. "How did it go?" he asked. I wrote back, "Exactly like you said. He announced it today. Ethan takes over Monday. Are you ready?" I stared at the message for a long time. Was I ready? Ready to watch the division I'd built fall apart? Ready to let the 17 partnerships I'd nurtured move on to someone who'd treat them right? Ready to show Mr. Thompson the consequences of his actions? I wrote back, yes. The weekend felt strange. On Saturday morning, for the first time in 8 years, I had nowhere to be. No messages to check, no problems to solve. I made breakfast slowly and sat on my balcony, watching the world go by. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Mr. Harris. "I wanted to call before anything official happens," he said. "Working with you these past 7 years meant a lot. You treated us like partners, not just suppliers." I was touched. "It meant a lot to me too, Mr. Harris. Do you think Ethan understands how things work?" He paused. "No. But what if it became someone else's opportunity instead? I've been talking to some people like Mr. Reed. He's different. He reminds me of why I got into this business in the first place." I knew what he was hinting at. "Your contract with the company ends on Monday. It's your choice what to do next." He paused again. "I've made my decision. I'm not renewing. I just wanted you to know." After he hung up, 3 more suppliers called that day. They all had similar conversations, thanking me, mentioning Mr. Reed, and asking my opinion. I didn't tell them what to do, they'd already made up their minds. On Sunday evening, Mr. Reed called. "Tomorrow's going to be intense. You sure you want to watch this happen?" I took a deep breath. I built it. I should see what happens when someone breaks it. He warned me that once it started, there was no going back. The relationships would dissolve, the division would struggle, and the people who worked there would suffer. I knew all that, but I also knew that Mr. Thompson had made his choice. On Monday morning, I stayed home. I made tea, tried to read, but my mind was racing. Around 10 a.m. my old work phone started buzzing. Messages from Ethan's assistant, the operations manager, even Mr. Thompson's direct line. I turned it off at 11 a.m. Mr. Reed sent me a message. It's happening. 4 suppliers confirmed they're out this morning. 3 more this afternoon. Ethan is panicking. I could imagine him in the office, surrounded by people trying to explain why everything was falling apart. By evening, Mr. Reed sent another update. 7 suppliers so far. He's trying to call them directly, but they're not answering. Mr. Thompson got involved and started making threats about contracts and legal action. I knew it wouldn't work. The suppliers had fulfilled their agreements and were choosing not to renew. Over the next few days, the situation deteriorated. Ethan was drowning, and Mr. Thompson was trying to save face by blaming the suppliers. On Thursday, I went for a long walk to clear my head. I realized I'd wanted Mr. Thompson and Ethan to face the consequences, but I hadn't fully considered the impact on the people who worked with me. On Saturday morning, 1 week and 1 day after Ethan took over, Julia called. They want to hire you back. Mr. Thompson is offering to reinstate you. Same position, probably more money. He's desperate. I thought about it for a moment. But I knew I couldn't go back. I'm going to let them figure it out themselves. Are you sure? You won't even consider it? She asked. No. If I go back, nothing changes. Mr. Thompson will learn he can disrespect people and then apologize when it's convenient. The next person he decides isn't useful will be treated the same way I was. Over the next few weeks, I started getting calls from other people in the business. Some offered sympathy, others offered jobs. One woman who ran a mid-sized company said, "What you did took guts. Most people would have just quit and complained. You actually did something about it." I knew she was right. I'd let the truth show itself. That respect matters more than authority, that you can't transfer trust like a title. About a month after the whole thing fell apart, I met Mr. Reed for breakfast again. He asked me what I was going to do next. I told him I could work for someone else, but I might end up in the same situation. Or I could start my own operation, something small at first, based on trust and honesty. He smiled. You're thinking of starting your own business. It'll be harder, but at least no one can take it away and give it to their nephew. I laughed. He was right. I spent the next few months planning and making connections. 3 months later, I officially started my own small operation. I called Mr. Harris to let him know. Finally, he said. I wondered when you'd start building again. I told him I'd been thinking about whether I wanted to stay in the business at all after what happened. But I realized I couldn't let Mr. Thompson change who I was. I was good at building relationships, at making things work. Mr. Harris said he'd be interested in working with me again, on my terms. And over the next few weeks, 5 of the suppliers I'd worked with for years reached out. They made it clear they'd rather work with me directly than through someone like Mr. Thompson. Building my own business was different the second time. It was slower and harder, but it was mine. Every success, every failure, every decision was mine. 6 months after leaving Mr. Thompson's company, I heard that his business had shrunk significantly. The division I'd built never recovered. Too many relationships were broken, and their reputation was damaged. I felt sad rather than satisfied. Sad that all those years of hard work had come to an end because one person thought authority was more important than respect. One afternoon, I got an unexpected call. It was Ethan. His voice was different, quiet and unsure. I know you probably don't want to talk to me, he said. What do you want? I asked. To apologize. I didn't understand what I was taking from you. I didn't understand what you'd built. I just thought my uncle was giving me an opportunity. I took a deep breath. There's a difference between being given something and earning it. I hope you've learned that now. He went on to tell me about the 19 days he'd tried to run the division. The questions he couldn't answer, the relationships that disappeared. He said he understood now why I'd done what I did. I didn't say much. It didn't undo the humiliation or the disrespect, but it meant he'd learned something. A year has passed since then. My operation is stable and growing. I work with 8 suppliers regularly and have relationships with 15 different buyers. I have 2 employees, Julia, who joined me 6 months after I left Mr. Thompson's, and a young woman named Lily, fresh out of college. I've told Lily I'll teach her everything I know and that I won't hold her back if she wants to move on. Mr. Reed came by the other day. He told me Mr. Thompson was still struggling to find good people. Word had gotten around about how he'd treated me. I just shrugged. That's his problem. I've moved on. I've built something.